Local, so you might even find them around the gardens. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about all of them and a little bit about their habitats where you might find them. If I'm talking at any stage too fast, just let me know, okay? Alright, so the first animals I've got for you guys are reptiles. So there's 4 different types. There's snakes, lizards, crocodiles and turtles. Have you heard of those before? Yeah, good. And the reptiles have 2 very special things about them that make them reptiles. One is the fact that they all have scales, and the other is that they're cold-blooded. And he has a big, bright blue tongue. Now these guys are local here, and they're very common. So we see them a lot in the gardens and around our dogs and cats trying to steal their food to try and protect themselves. These ones have had since they were a baby, been holding and cuddling their whole lives, so they're not going to hurt you, okay? So if you want to just have a pat on his back and his tail, and if you have any questions, you can ask me when I'm coming around. You don't want to touch it? This guy is a bearded dragon. So there's one that's similar that lives around here called a water dragon. You might see them near the beaches and the creeks. Look a little bit like him, they're pointed but they are a lot bigger and brown. So this guy's called a bearded dragon because he's done snakes in the world. So it's really important that you guys know what to do if you see a snake in the wild. So snakes, they can't see, their eyesight's really poor, but they can see movements because they hunt mice. So if a mice is running around, it can see that, and it can feel vibrations on the ground. So snakes are scared of us. It's a total myth that snakes will chase you and try to bite you. The only reason they will ever bite you is if they're scared and they think you're going to hurt it. And she is our local coastal carpet python. So these ones are actually super common here. Thanks for that, Georgie. That's a nice kiss. So this is our coastal. This girl here isn't fully grown. She has... That's alright, she's very patient with me this time. This girl, Georgie, is not fully grown yet. She has about another metre to go, and she also is going to get a lot fatter than this as well. So you can see how she's flicking her tongue. Snakes actually have a forked tongue, so they have 2 bits on the end of their tongue. And that means that they can smell you and you at exactly the same time. So she will go in any which way the mouse went. So she's very, very talented at that. Now Georgie, has anyone ever seen a snake skeleton before? The bones of a snake? Yeah? So she has a spine that runs from her head all the way down to her tail. And she has ribs all the way down that spine. And that's how she moves. She can move all of those ribs independently. And when you touch her, you can feel those moving. So it's pretty cool. Now, I'm going to bring her around, and if we want to, we can have a hold. Does that sound good? Or I've got a small one. Do you want the big one or the small one? Georgie? Alright, you want to go first? Yeah? Stand up for me, and I'll put her around your neck. And if you put your hands underneath, like this, so Georgie is actually really, really heavy. She's about 7 kilos, and that's because she's all muscle. We know how muscle weighs more than fat, so when you hold her, you'll feel her muscle and her strength.
大马见小马。
That's it. Good job. She's cute, isn't she? We just found out she's a girl. We did call her George for a time.
It looks like it's sick being passed around, like, would she start? Oh, really?
Yeah. Like they're very good. That was a fail. There we go. So that's what her long neck is for. When we look at animals, usually everything we see is good for something. And she's having a good old swim. Usually she weaves on me after this. So, I've got one more reptile. Is a crocodile. He is, does anyone know which one's bigger, freshwater or saltwater? No, saltwater crocodile. So these are the ones that break the surface so he doesn't leave any ripples. And that's so he can sneak up on his prey as well. So this guy is a predator, he's a hunting machine, best predator in the world. He has inbuilt goggles. He has a special eyelid that goes across and acts like goggles so he can see underwater. He's got night vision like a cat. So if you look closely at his eyes, he's got that slit just like a cat in the daytime. At night time they come wide so he can see just as well as I can see you right now. Pretty creepy. But this little guy, he actually has sharper teeth than the adults because he has a different diet. He eats things like shelly and frogs. So he needs to be able to slice with his teeth. Whereas the big daddies and the big mummies, they just hop on and they death roll. Have you guys seen that before on TV? So they bite on, they take them underwater and then they roll around until chunks come off. So that's how they eat and they swallow whole. So it's a bit different. Now I'm going to bring him around and if we want to, we can have a hold. So I want you to put one hand under his tail, one hand under his neck, and he might be, but that's okay. I'll just grab him if he does. Sound good? Yeah? So they have an inbuilt armour on the outside of their body, and that's to protect them from the big daddy crocodiles that take out the little ones. That's his little dancing. Is he getting warm? No. If they're not in their pond, they're grumpy. Just a fact. It's okay. Alright, here we go. You don't want to hold him anymore? After that? Yeah.
我甩到我脸，我能摔。
啊？来看我。
他来吃我的东西。
是你啊？看我。
Her wrist all the way down to her ankle and she can actually glide from tree to tree. And she's got big claws and that helps her to climb trees. And she lives in places like this. So big tree hollows, that's where she shelters and that's where they have their babies as well. So unfortunately this one's mum was actually attacked by a cat. Cats are their biggest threat. They're actually endangered in the wild, so there's not many of them left. And you can see she's got really big eyes and ears to help her see and hear at night as well. And she has a big fluffy tail. The adults, they're fluffier than that. But that helps her to steer when she's gliding. So if she flicks it in one direction, she goes the other way. This stuff here is actually toxic to most animals. And the only reason they can eat it is because they eat their mum's poo. There's a substance called pap that they eat And when they eat it, all of the bugs from that poo go into their tummy, and that allows them to digest it and make it non-toxic. So that's pretty cool. And this little guy has got some sleep in his eye, just woke him up. So this little guy is really, really important in our environment, and a lot of people don't realise. You guys know what bees do in our environment?
They spread
the pollen. Exactly. So they fly from one flower, they take the pollen and they take it to another flower, which makes our flowers, which makes our fruit, which makes our seeds and trees. These guys are our backup in Australia. We've got bees, possums and bats that play a major role in our environment. So if bees go, which we all know they're struggling a little bit, these guys are super important to us. They're the ones that are going to give us our fruit and veg. So we love them lots. Even though they're annoying to some people because they live in our roofs, but they're very good. He's pretty cool. A lot of people think he's an owl, but he's not an owl. If he was, I'd have to wear really, really big gloves because they hunt with their claws. This guy, he hunts with his beak, so he's got that really wide beak to be able to scoop things up, swallow them whole, and that's why we call him a tawny frog mouth. This is one of the reasons that we don't have many of them left, is because they rely on tree hollows for their shelter and safety from other animals. So unfortunately, because we're cutting them down, she's losing her home. Another reason is cats. These guys pretty much are endangered because of cats. You can imagine her hunting at night time. She doesn't have much of a defense against a cat. And because she's losing her home, she's got nowhere to hide from her cats anymore. So, which is pretty funny. One of the things she does to get away from them is glide. Cats can't glide, so that's one good thing she's got going. We're trying to teach her how to glide. She might do it for you. She's only done it once so far. She's still learning.